That's right, it's another video where I yap at the start because I forgot talking about something very important when it comes to TikTok. They are now also collecting user data, which includes things like racial or ethnic origin, national origin, religious beliefs, mental or physical health diagnosis, sexual life or sexual orientation, status as transgender or non-binary, citizenship or immigration status, or financial information. There's definitely not something going on here when it comes to the US collecting your immigration status, your ethnic background, and whether or not you're transgender. I also just wanted to quickly talk about something that was going on when it comes to the feed, when it comes to new views not being detected. So as you can see, the Democrats account, there was a screenshot posted with a huge drop from like 300,000, 1.7 million down to 0. But as you can see, it, I guess, recovered. It has now 1.4 million views on TikTok. This one has 240,000. So it's still getting views. The content is still getting views. But we'll see what's going to happen with the algorithm. I also wanted to talk about Upscrolled, which is a new app, kind of like Instagram. It is made by someone who is Palestinian. It's apparently getting more users, and I'm guessing that eventually more people are going to be driven to the alternative. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Hope you have a good evening, day. Okay, we're talking about TikTok. So this was January 2025. This was about like him starting to go after TikTok because, oh my god, it's owned by the Chinese government and they are, you know, stealing the data and giving it to communists and so on. On January 23rd, 2026, Donald J. Trump on Truth Social posted, "I am so happy to have helped in saving TikTok. It will now be owned by a group of great American patriots and investors, the biggest in the world, and will be an important voice. Along with other factors, it was responsible for my doing so well with the youth vote in 2024, and more yapping." Right? In January 2026, there was a transfer in ownership of the US version of TikTok. So if you're in EU, you haven't had any changes, you weren't impacted by this. But in the US, TikTok is now owned by someone like Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle, cloud computing and AI company. And Larry Ellison also helped Elon Musk purchase Twitter. I think he invested like $7 or $8 billion. And he's slowly building like his own media empire. And you might not know this, but he's a Zionist. He's a very vocal Zionist. Ellison family builds media empire supporting Israel. Larry Ellison and his son David aim to build a major media empire in US. Go promote pro-Israel messages and influence public opinion. Ellison family media activity focuses on producing pro-Israel content, creating an integrated media network covering TV and e-platforms, aims media control to increase reach, improve Israel's image in American societies, influence US and global audience, weaken Palestinian narrative. Who is Larry Ellison? Strong pro-Israeli. A prominent Republican donor, donated $16.6 million to Friends of the IDF. Has plans to acquire assets from Warner Bros. Discovery, wants to participate in TikTok acquisition deal. And, you know, he obviously participated in that already. This was 7 weeks ago. Like, the transfer and ownership was like 3 days ago. Ellison is friends of Tony Blair, mentioned in post-Gaza war context. Netanyahu called the deal crucial, controlling content for 170 million US users. Media control gives Ellison ability to direct content in favor of Israel and MAGA agenda. Palestinians will face increasing difficulty in conveying accurate information. So he also helped his son purchase Paramount. Maybe you remember this.
How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance, to that community. They're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well, okay? And you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are in social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is TikTok. TikTok, number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one that's most important? X. X. That's very good. And, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend.
The guy who's spotted doing numerous Nazi salutes and promoting Nazi propaganda on far-right accounts is not an enemy of Israel, but a friend. For decades, right-wingers have spread the propaganda of the Jews are controlling the media. The Jews, they own everything. And now they side with people, with Zionists, who are actually building their media empire in order to suppress pro-Palestinian voices, also pro-LGBTQ people and so on. And these far-right extremists are now kind of, I guess, torn when it comes to Israel. I'm a little bit confused of what is happening. Anyway, I saw a bunch of TikToks where people were talking about it because the recent changes on January 22nd went through when it comes to the TikTok algorithm.
It's official. TikTok just announced they've handed control of US TikTok over to Zionist billionaire and MAGA oligarch Larry Ellison. This completes a 2.5-year campaign by the state of Israel to censor Americans' TikTok because the platform permitted pro-Palestinian speech. Remember, Netanyahu told us this out loud last August when he met with a fleet of paid American influencers, telling them that the most important thing happening for Israel in their digital war, their propaganda machine, was the TikTok sale to Larry Ellison, a dear friend of Netanyahu, the largest donor to the IDF, and a mega billionaire who has spent the last year buying up social media platforms and news outlets like Paramount, Skydance, and CBS, and then censored them, firing pro-Palestinian commentators, making sure that whatever they put out is pro-regime, pro-US, and pro-Israel slop. We are living through what may be the largest case of mass censorship we will experience in our lives. It's not just pro-Palestinian speech that will disappear from this app in the coming days, weeks, and months. It's anything that is not pro-MAGA, pro-billionaire, and pro-empire.
We constantly see this trend of China being the boogeyman and the US just pointing the finger. All they have to do is just point the finger at China and then they get away with anything. It's the same when it comes to Greenland, right? They just point the finger at China. Oh, if the US doesn't invade Greenland, then China's going to have an easy time taking over Greenland. You also saw that with TikTok. Oh my god, the app is actually connected to the Wi-Fi and that is helping the regime in China. And actually, we desperately need to own TikTok. We need to own all the social media platforms. They can just easily point the finger at, trans people. That's what they do as well, in order to push through anti-woman propaganda and normalize these things. We always see this oppression. We always see how they just point at marginalized groups, or they point at the Red Scare, communism, in order to get people to stop thinking and to stop critically engaging with the content that they're seeing. It's the same when it comes to AI, right? They see images of AI and they are oh, this affirms what I already believe, so I don't even acknowledge the fact that this is AI and this doesn't exist. They're just accepting it. When it comes to TikTok, if you're in TikTok, there are new terms of service. So I saw this one video about what happened there.
When you upload a video, your video is still your video, but now there's a catch. The moment you upload anything to TikTok, you're giving TikTok a worldwide, royalty-free, permanent license to use it. This means that TikTok can copy it, distribute it, remix it, show it to anyone, and they could use it to train its AI system. And for that, you do not get paid for that.
There's another video explaining the new algorithm.
You'll still be able to see US creators' videos no matter where you are around the world. But the algorithm is only going to behave and react to US interactions. So that means behavior such as like, watch time, follows, shares, comments. If you're doing that from outside the United States, that behavior will not be changing the algorithm inside the US.
I saw Samantha Lux posted on Twitter the other day. I put hashtag trans on my last TikTok and it's been at 0 views for 2 hours. They're officially censoring us. I think that, like, in general, hashtag trans has been, like, in the algorithm suppressed. And, like, my TikToks are basically just Valorant interactions. But, like, my general content, my political stuff and so on, I don't even put, like, the effort into turning it into shorts because I know for a fact that it's going to be suppressed anyway. You remember back in the day when I made a video about, like, how how Twitter is basically, like, censoring me? I talked a lot about Twitter because I was using it as an example because, like, it's the most noticeable. When it comes to something like TikTok and so on, it's a little bit more subtle. But, like, the video's point was not actually it wasn't just about Twitter censoring these types of, creators, but it was about, like, social media in general. A lot of US tech companies, a lot of tech billionaires want to push pro-Israel messaging, like pro-genocide messaging, and suppress everybody who is critical of the regime. I know that, retention rate isn't that high, and a lot of people in the comments were actually like, oh, why are you still on Twitter? We expected that on Twitter. And it's like, yes, in the video itself, I said, everybody knows that Twitter is doing that because that is what Elon Musk is doing. But it's not just Elon Musk. And US TikTok is going to feel very different. It already feels very different for a lot of people. It suppresses videos that are happening right now of current political events. Instead, it is showing you old content.
Trying to suppress everyone discussing the execution that happened today, they have now accidentally reminded everyone of the execution we all witnessed 2.5 weeks ago, because that's how this algorithm suppresses things. Once you see the pattern when there's a major incident, especially on this app, you will start to notice the pattern more and more often. Major thing happens. Major thing is breaking. It's happening right now. Suddenly, every one of these apps starts showing you videos from 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. But the issue is, and the reason why that suppression isn't going to work in this case, is because to get us to stop talking about execution we saw today, they're now showing us videos of people reacting to the execution they saw 2.5 weeks ago. Or the kidnapping of a 5-year-old child that was being used as bait. Or bombing other countries and threatening their presidents or stealing their presidents or any of these other different things. It's just a reminder of how insane this year has been over and over again, and how...
Just so you know, this year, we are still in January. January hasn't even ended yet. I know it feels like we've had like 300 days of January. We are still not in February. The overturn window has shifted so far that normies are scaring me with their ignorance. I hope that more and more creators are going to like find the strength to be vocal about like the injustices in the world, and they don't have to fear to be yelled at by the Roach Gang and be dogpiled by like right-wingers and lose sponsor opportunities and so on. Because a lot of creators, especially when it comes to VTubers and so on, a lot of them are like behind the scenes, they support me, for instance, but they're not vocal. They're not speaking up. They're not talking about, they don't want to step up. They don't want to defend someone like me because they are also going to get dogpiled. This is also part of the censorship that I mentioned in my other videos, how I'm being silent, how I am being made toxic because these right-wingers constantly like dogpile on me and like spread these lies about me and go after anyone who just like replies to my tweets. They bully people who associate with me because they don't want my views and my ability to speak to be normalized. They want to suppress people like me, people who agree with me, right? The moment you speak out for trans rights and so on, then you're going to get backlash and pushback. This is part of the censorship that I was talking about, a lot of like social conditioning. The internet is heavily right-wing and it's controlled by the, by these bullies. And I hope the internet changes back again. The pendulum swings back. It is obviously incredibly difficult when you look at who owns these platforms. When you see who owns Facebook, when you see who owns Twitter, when you see who owns TikTok now, like US TikTok. You know that it's incredibly difficult, and I hope there are going to be more alternatives to these platforms. There are viable options, something like Blue Sky, right? Blue Sky is still like very niche. And it's also terrifying to, like, as a creator, to build a new platform, your platform, in different spaces. I know how hard it is. I know how it sucks. But I hope that things are changing soon.